Alright, YouTube family, we going to Wellington, Florida to cover the story of Christopher Paul George. But first, I gotta give you the history of where he came from. Wellington, Florida is a village just west of West Palm Beach in Palm Beach County, 66 miles north of Miami. It is a part of Miami's metropolitan area. As of the 2020 census, the village had a population of 61,000, making it the most popular village in the state, the birthplace of Tommy Lee Jones, Bill Gates, and Madonna. Its main attraction every year is the Top Gun model aircraft show, but it also was the birthplace of a gangster. Christopher Paul George was born November 11th, 1980, in Wellington, Florida, along with his twin brother, Jeffrey Frank George. His father, John George Sr., became rich in the construction sector. Their parents divorced in 1988. According to their father, Chris and Jeff were not particularly good students, but acquired entrepreneur attitudes from him. Growing up, Chris used to drink a lot, so he often would get arrested for alcohol brawls. His first arrest was at 13, beefing with the police due to being drunk. He loved working out, and in 2003, he was arrested for ordering and accepting a package of steroids and got sentenced to 8 months in prison. After he got out, he started working at his father's construction company and tried to do the right thing with his father's guidance. Prior to his run-ins with the law, he had studied business administration and construction management without earning a degree, spending 2 years at Palm Beach Community College and 2 years at Florida International University. But instead of going the corporate route, he used his business management skills to run a drug operation. After talks with a doctor, Chris decided at the end of 2007 to enter the pain management business together with his twin brother. He pushed ahead of the corresponding planning and preparations so that South Florida Pain Clinic could start in February 2008. Their first location was a bungalow on Oak Park Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. Within 2 weeks, Chris recognized the opportunities in the pill mill business and began the expansion. He placed job offers for doctors on Craigslist. A few weeks after the business started, a large number of Kentucky and Tennessee residents visited the South Florida Pain Clinic. The revenue tripled in profits within that week alone, partially because of so-called sponsors who paid a handful of people, often opiate addicts, to come to South Florida Pain Clinic, receive prescriptions for high-dose painkillers, and purchase hundreds of them at the clinic. Most of the pills the patients received were given to the sponsors, who would sell them on the black market, advertising on large billboards and free newspapers, as well as the internet. Chris and George had a multi-million-dollar enterprise within a few months. Owners of surrounding businesses led to the publication of a newspaper report about the clinic. Afterwards, an investigation was launched by the local police department. They responded by moving the clinic to a new location in Cypress Creek Executive Court, an office complex near Fort Lauderdale. At this location, the number of personnel was increased. After a few weeks, complaints came as well from other businesses. In the end result, the landlord loved the money, but he didn't like the scrutiny from the police, so he terminated their lease. They found another location on North Federal Highway. This move was accompanied by a change of the name. The company now was called American Pain. In the official documents for the company, Chris's name was no longer registered as the owner, but as a straw man. Money was coming in, and the business continued to flourish. By 2009, had 5 full-time physicians working there, with additional physicians on part-time jobs. At the same time, internal processes were optimized so that as many patients as possible could be supplied with painkillers in the shortest amount of time. The clinic developed more and more to a prescription assembly line. Despite the change in name, it was not possible to escape the police and the media attention. A couple of Portuguese journalists filmed the clinic in hopes of shining light of its corruption. At one point, Chris felt like he was untouchable. He opened another much smaller clinic in West Palm Beach with his partner and later wife, Diana Marie, a former stripper. And that same year, he acquired a pharmacy as well in Orlando. The police was watching, but they were expanding their operation. Chris was sharp and knew that trouble could come his way, so he put $250,000 down on a retainer for a lawyer. That same day, him and his twin brother opened a small pill mill in Georgia. While Chris was expanding his operation, the FBI was gaining intel. For approximately 14 months, the DEA and Internal Revenue Service in Palm Beach County conducted an operation called Operation Oxy Alley. In a 17-page indictment, they alleged from July 7th, 2008 to about July 2nd, 2010, doctors at the clinic wrote approximately 60,000 prescriptions. 96% of those prescriptions were for oxycodone. 80% of the prescriptions went to people who weren't even Florida residents. On March 3rd, 2010, the FBI, as well as the Internal Revenue Service, unsealed their document before searching clinics and private homes of Chris and all of his associates in order to prove the cooperation of defendants and the role of the doctors. The indictment fell under the RICO Act, a federal law passed in the 1970s, particularly to combat the American Mafia. The charges were organized crime, conspiracy, and money laundering, as well as conspiring to commit fraud on the internet and through mail order businesses. At the time of his arrest, Chris owned several large estates, totaling 152 acres. They also took 7 cars from him, 3 motorboats, and a couple of dirt bikes. In the attic of Chris's mother's house, they found $4.3 million in cash. With all the overwhelming evidence against him, Chris decided to cop out. He got sentenced to 17 and a half years on February 12, 2012. But on April 4th, 2014, he got his sentence reduced to 14 years because he decided to cooperate with authorities in the trial of 2 of his former doctors who were accused of murder. In December 2015, his twin brother, Jeff George, was sentenced to 20 years in prison due to a drug overdose murder, as well as the same charges as Chris. His wife, Diana, and his mother, Miss Denise, were both sentenced to 4.5 years for managing and operating one of the pain clinics. He spent most of his 30s in jail and missed important moments of his kids' childhood. In a jailhouse interview, he stated he was sorry for any harm he caused to the families. On February 11th, 2022, George was released from federal prison with a fresh start at life.